What's going on, everybody? Thank you for jumping into our Coach Arians interview from today. I got to tell you, he is absolutely fantastic. What a great representation of Virginia Tech. What an awesome guy. And loved getting to catch up with him for the second time, which was great. We got to cover a lot more since he was not preparing for a Super Bowl this time. Still pretty crazy that he was willing to come on during Super Bowl week just a few years ago, and I was glad to bring him back. I did want to take some time to go over a few scheduling updates for you all ahead of the football season, and also talk through a couple of things that we have going on before jumping into the interview. First and foremost, a couple of quick Hokie headlines. Please check out Ryan Castle's work over at sonsofsaturday.com. He's doing a fantastic job with the summer fall camp notebook, basically breaking down everything that he sees and hears at practice for the Hokies as we get ready for week one. Also, shout out to Kamari Copeland, Donovan Green, and Cam Seldon. They all made the Freaks list that comes out every single year from Bruce Feldman. Love to see them represented. I know that we had APR represented last year, and I believe we had one more. Maybe it was Tootin. I can't remember. But I cannot remember the last time that we had 3 Hokies represented on this list. So that's exciting. I do also want to point out and thank everybody who's been tuning in to the YouTube channel. This has been our best month ever on YouTube. 140,000 views, over 160 new subscribers. Also tip of the cap to Sam and Pete. They're doing a fantastic job with Two Deep. They've been such an awesome addition to the team. And if you are watching and you are enjoying, please do hit that subscribe button. It does help us out a lot. I really do appreciate it. And also, let's talk a little bit about what we have going on for week one. First of all, and this is all for Labor Day weekend for the South Carolina game, official hotel, the Spring Hill Suites. We have a room block live now. It's $169 a night. I believe we have 5 or 6 rooms left right now. So go ahead and check those out. That is a preferred rate, and you can collect your points with that as well. So go ahead and get in on that if you haven't secured your lodging yet. On Saturday night at Park Tavern, we have an open bar for 3 hours. We have live music, vendors, hundreds of fans, all of the college football. That will be at Park Tavern on Saturday night. We will be essentially running that from 3 to 11, but football will be on all day. We'll have live music. It'll be fantastic. And the new addition, which we're really excited about, is we have a tailgate on Sunday that is going to be at Der Biergarten. That is in partnership with some great Hokies that we met over in Atlanta, over at TechStream, and also Mehul Sangani. They were gracious enough to work with us and bring this together. We're really looking forward to it. It's a 10-minute walk from the stadium. There is going to be unlimited beer and wine and food from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 p.m. And then we'll all walk over to the game. Really excited about it. It's $80 per ticket until August 15th, and then that price will increase. There are lower cost tickets available for under 21 or non-alcoholic tickets. I will include all of that information in the description, so please do check that out. As far as the season is concerned, hoping to see all of you in Atlanta, by the way. As far as the season is concerned, this is what our schedule will look like. At a minimum, you will be getting pregame podcasts every Tuesday, breaking down the week's opponent, breaking down what to expect from the game, what are the keys to the game. That's what we'll be doing every single Tuesday. You will get post-game recaps every single Sunday. Now, with Friday night games or any extenuating circumstances, that may change, but that is what we're planning on. Pre-game pods every Tuesday, post-game pods every Sunday. I also want to extend a massive thank you to the sponsors that will be working with us this fall. First of all, Whitley's Peanuts. We just spoke with them. They will be working with us on the pins this year, the beat whoever we're playing pins. Their peanuts are also available in Lane and in Castle Coliseum all season long. I buy them every single holiday season. They're fantastic. Check them out at whitleyspeanut.com. Hokie owned, Hokie bred, fantastic people. Highly suggest checking them out. Heritage Hall, our title sponsor, local to Blacksburg, absolutely fantastic. Doing events consistently in the New River Valley. I know they just had Coach Beamer out for some autographs. Thank you to Heritage Hall. Rowback, they have new apparel that is launching for Virginia Tech. That is launching, I believe, today on the 5th when this will drop. They also have 58 other schools. Use code Saturday for 20% off. And then lastly, Breakthrough Beverage, Jack and Coke returns. Really excited to have them back in the fold for pregame predictions and some other really cool stuff that we planned for the fall. And we do have a couple of other friends that we're talking about here before kickoff. And if you are interested in working with us, drop us a note on social. Last couple things, and then I'll let you guys go. Newsletter. Check out the description. If you want to get signed up, you can hear all of the information and everything that's going on with our brand. No, we're not going to send you a million emails. So sign up if you'd like and join over 3,000 fans who receive our newsletter. Lastly, if you want in on the ride, support Sons of Saturday by joining the Section 5 Club for just a cup of coffee per month. You get early access to tickets, exclusive perks, discounted apparel, discounted event tickets, and a front row seat to everything with Sons of Saturday. I cannot say it enough. I know this has been going for 7 minutes. I appreciate so much all the support. We have had a hell of a lot of fun doing it and looking forward to a huge, huge year in 2025 and hanging out and meeting so many of you who I've known for a while and will meet this year. We are all incredibly, incredibly appreciative. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Super Bowl champion, Virginia Tech legend, and all around awesome dude, Bruce Arians.
All right, everyone. It is Monday, August 4th. August means football. And taking a break here. I'm at the beach with the Rafferty family, but we got to jump in to some great guests today. Our next guest is a Hokie legend. He's an NFL icon, Hokie quarterback in the 1970s. And you may know him as being the guy who rushed for 11 touchdowns in a season, which a record that stood for over 40 years. And, Michael Vick didn't even break that record. But he also coached under Bear Bryant at Alabama and went on to mentor some of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. Peyton Manning, Big Ben, Andrew Luck, Tom Brady, among several others. He's a Super Bowl winning head coach, the original quarterback whisperer, and one of the most respected minds in the game of football. Coach Bruce Arians, welcome back to the Sons of Saturday. It's great to see you.
Great to be back, guys. Great to be back.
So, Coach, I got to tell you, we were talking about this before we got started. Truly one of the highlights of Sons of Saturday. I mean, we've interviewed Miss America. We've interviewed Coach Beamer at Virginia Tech. But the conversation breaker of, we interviewed Coach Arians the week of the Super Bowl. Pretty good. Hard to beat. So I do want to start with that Super Bowl week in 2021. So rewinding a little bit, you initially retired in 2018, came back to coach the Bucs in 2019. So what went into that decision? I know that you were at the Bucs before Tom Brady was there. So just walk us through your decision to come back.
Yeah, it was, I had another bout with cancer out in Arizona. And that one hit me pretty hard, and I retired. And, I did the CBS thing for a year, and I loved it, but I hated to travel, and I really couldn't say what I wanted to say on television. I kept getting bleeped. And, I really wasn't itching to get back into coaching, but when signs show up for you. And for me, Jason Light being the general manager, and I had known Jameis Winston. I had him in a football camp in the 10th grade, thought he was going to be a heck of a player. And 18 of my coaches were available. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. I told my wife, we'll be on the East Coast, you'll be able to see the grandkids. And, I got very excited about it. And especially when we put the staff together, because I didn't want to call plays anymore, and I was going to turn it over to Byron Leftwich. And Byron had done a great job for me out in Arizona, and should be a head coach in the NFL right now. But, that led to it. We had Byron did a great job with Jameis, 5,000 yards, 36 touchdowns that first year, but he did have the 30 interceptions. And, that led to Tom Brady. We had to look behind door number 2 and never guessed behind door number 2 was going to be Tom Brady, but it ended up being Tom. And we ended up during the craziest year of all football, that's COVID year, with no fans, no practice, ended up winning the Super Bowl. And it was a tribute to the players. Really being accountable to each other. Well, I think we only had 2 guys miss games because of the virus.
Can you tell me what that engagement was like, where you said behind door number 2. I mean, when Tom Brady is going to the Buccaneers, it kind of shocks the entire football world. How shocking was it to you? And what was kind of that engagement like in the first time? I'm sure you guys have ran into each other in circles in the NFL, but what was that first engagement like from player to coach?
Yeah, it was really easy. I mean, Tom was recruiting us more than we were recruiting him. You know, it was he knew everything about us. He knew the receivers we had. He wanted to live in Florida. So everything just fit, you know, and he had played for a defensive coach his whole career. He wanted to play for an offensive coach, and it took some time. It really did take some time for our philosophies to gel, and especially not having any spring practice and no preseason games.
And if you could look, there were a ton of challenges that came with that COVID season. And I do remember you all did a phenomenal job. You know, there were teams that struggled with it and there were teams that didn't struggle with it as much. But looking back on it, is there one thing that stood out as the biggest challenge that went into that, into winning and achieving in that COVID year?
Yeah, I think we had a huge advantage being in Florida. You know, our ownership was amazing. We could use our indoor facility as an outdoor practice field, so we could meet in there. We had 2 locker rooms. Our owners built outdoor locker rooms, outdoor meeting rooms. We ate outside. So I never did one Zoom call that entire season.
Wow.
Most guys were stuck on Zoom calls with their players. I look my guys in the face every day. And now assistant coaches did a lot of Zoom stuff. But for me, I thought that was a huge advantage for us, being able to stay outside in the weather and not have to deal with all that stuff.
So one of my favorite moments in the Super Bowl, I'm not sure if you saw it, the halftime show, we had the like the gobbler thing in the halftime performance, but also we had Tom Brady screaming Hokie directly into the camera, which was pretty awesome. Can you just tell us what that means? What was that call and who brought it to the table?
Yeah, I'm not sure which one it was, but yeah, it was, you know, it was a great game. You know, I mean, everything about the game. Todd Bowles' unbelievable defensive effort. Philly kind of copied it this past year, and I said if Philly's front four could play like our front four did, they're going to win the game. But Tom was outstanding, and we ran the ball really, really well in that game. Our offensive line was very physical, and we were able to, you know, get that big touchdown right before half. That was huge.
When you look at older quarterbacks, they're almost, when you see a quarterback decline, they get a little bit of happy feet. They're not happy getting hit. And you never really saw that out of Tom. Can you just describe what it was like coaching an older quarterback like Tom Brady and how you think he was able to, what do you think it was that kept him able to compete at such a high level at such an elder age?
No, basically it's pride. I mean, the guy's pride is unbelievable. His preparation is off the charts. I mean, he and Peyton Manning were the 2 guys that their preparation was just ridiculous. And but it's pride, it's toughness, and a will to win. You know, I was very fortunate having Carson Palmer later in his career, so I got used to coaching a veteran guy who didn't quite see it your way in the beginning, and it took some time for both those guys. But you know, by the time we got to the playoffs, Tommy was all in.
And speaking of pride, you know, and speaking of Tom, that Super Bowl parade and, you know, tossing the Lombardi trophy over the water, and, you know, you're there posing and it's just an epic day. You know, we're kind of coming out of COVID. What were your just overall thoughts and feedback on an incredible Super Bowl parade that, you know, you got to hang out on a boat all day, Tom's throwing the trophy around? Like, what was that through the eyes of Coach Bruce Arians?
It was surreal. It really was. I mean, the banks of the river, and it was just packed, and the entire city was out. And there was no COVID that day. And you know, it was just until I saw the aerial view, then I got scared. How many boats were actually out there, and people on paddle boards and everything else? You know, it was a wild atmosphere. And I've been in 3 Super Bowl parades. That one's by far off the charts.
I'm sure, like Gasparilla, but on steroids.
Oh, totally.
Out in Tampa. Coach, just speaking on your career, you know, you were one of the youngest head coaches in Division I history when you were at Temple at 30 years old. And then it took, you know, nearly 25 years in the NFL before landing your first head coaching job in the NFL. And then there you go. You became the oldest coach to ever win a Super Bowl. So in a league that will often favor, the next young genius, what kept you going through the years, and how did those decades of experience help shape the way that you led once you finally got that opportunity?
Yeah, I always believe that you have a job, you do the best thing you can do. Every single day you go to work, you give the owner, your team, the best effort you can give them. After Super Bowl 43, and I didn't even get a phone call for an interview. I didn't think I'd ever be a head coach, and it just wasn't in the cards for whatever reason. And then, get fired in Pittsburgh and go to Indianapolis, and Chuck gets sick. And for whatever reason, now people give you an opportunity, and it took for Chuck to get leukemia for me to even get a chance. And, so it was very, very gratifying for me. It was late, 60, and then like 66, whatever I was in Tampa. But yeah, it was still, every single day was fun, and pulling for Pete Carroll now. So to keep the old guys going, Andy Reid.
You have the iconic offensive mantra, no risk it, no biscuit. Where does this come from, and how do you think it resonated with your teams and with your quarterbacks over the years?
Yeah, back in high school, one of our coaches put the poem "If" in our playbook by Rudyard Kipling, and that always stuck with me. I read that poem just about every day. And you can't be afraid to throw your hat in the ring. You got to take a chance. You got to take a chance. No great plays happen watching. You got to get in there and get after it. And I hit a lot of balls in the water going for it in two, and I still do because I can't make it anymore, but I still try. And but that's just the way. It's really a way of life, and live every single day to its fullest.
And then another line that came from Paul Bear Bryant was coach them hard and hug them later. And then you also learned from Jimmy Sharp how some players, make them believe that they could win even when the odds were stacked up against them. How had Coach Paul Bear Bryant, Jimmy Sharp, other early influences shaped the way that you built your relationship with your players, especially when it came to, balancing tough love, trust, and connection?
Yeah, the one thing our guys knew that when they came in my office, it wasn't going to get sugar-coated. They were going to get the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts, but it never fails you. I mean, the guys respect it, they know when you're bullshitting them, and they know when you're not. So there was never that with any of those guys. Coach Bryant was the master of personnel. Jimmy was the ultimate motivator. And I was very fortunate to be around those guys, along with Danny Ford, Nelson Stokely, Charlie Pell, who were all on that staff at Virginia Tech my senior year. Then I joined that staff with some really good head coaches. Terry Don Phillips ended up being the Clemson AD for a long time. It was a heck of a staff, and I got to learn from some of the best.
Coach, this summer I've been doing some reading. For those of you that don't know that I can read, I have been doing some reading. And 11 Rings by Phil Jackson was one that I did read this summer. And I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but the things that stuck out to me were, number one, Phil's unorthodox way of coaching. And number two, the way that he had to coach Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and Andrew Bynum and Dennis Rodman was totally, totally different. In my life, I watched Coach Charlie Wiles, who was our defensive line coach. And what he did an amazing job at Tech was coaching the kid from Delray Beach, Florida, completely different than the way he coached the kid from the 757 or upstate New York, and was able to maximize their talent. So my question for you is, do you have any things that somebody, if they said, I played for Coach Arians and he did this very unorthodox, or do you have any examples of players that you may have had to coach a little differently than you coached everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, in the last 10 years, the game totally changed. The young people are so different. They learn different. You got each and every guy is totally different. You got to find his hot button, how he learns. Is he a blackboard guy? Is he a film guy? Is he a rep guy? Does he have to walk through it and see it? So you put them in all those situations so that they learn it 4 times. And so for me, it was, you got to find each and every guy's. Some guys can't take an ass chewing. They just can't do it. And so you got to know that. Other guys love it. Brady loved it. Chew my ass out. He was kind of used to it from Bill. But, so it was, each and every guy was so different. And you got to find that out. I think that's what separates good coaches. guys that can teach. That's all really coaching is glorified teachers. And, we just got a lot of more people watching it when we give a test.
And speaking of kind of how you reach your players and how you reach your team, so team building has been a huge focal point for the Hokies this year. And especially, in the age of NIL, every single team is trying to build team chemistry and build camaraderie with 40, 50, or 60 newcomers to each team. So my question to you, I know there's not a magic wand and you can't say this is what does it or this isn't what does it. In your experience, would you say that team camaraderie and team building is more a system thing, or is it more a player-driven situation?
Well, I think you're only as good as your leaders, and coaches can only do so much. It's leadership in each room. Every time I talk to our team at Tech, I always talk about the leaders taking care of the young guys and getting them ready to play, because you're going to need them. You're going to need them some point in the season, and it's your job. It ain't the coach's job. It's your job. As a senior or as a junior, if you're a leader, it's your job to have the next guy ready. And if he's doing something wrong off the field, you need to correct it and stand up, be a leader. And when you have that type of leadership, we're very, very fortunate in Tampa to have that kind of leadership. It's easy to coach. It really is.
You mentioned the clip of you on Pardon My Take was going viral recently, talking about Tyran Matthew. And Tyran Matthew was one of my absolute favorite players in college. And what was crazy is, just like everybody had assumed, and foolish of me to assume, was when he gets kicked out of LSU, you're like, all right, well, we'll never hear from him again. And you mentioned that he was one of your favorite players ever. And you just mentioned if a player knows you're lying to him or a player knows you're BSing him, they're going to be able to sniff that out right away. So I'm curious, just your thoughts with Tyran Matthew. I know that he just retired. And then are there any other players that stick out that were some of your favorites, or some that really benefited from a second chance, or somebody taking a flyer on him in their career?
Yeah, I mean, Ty, when I met with Ty, I met with him a couple of different times, and he never blamed anybody else. Mm-hmm. He took accountability for where he was, and he knew how much he loved football, and he wasn't going to do anything to jeopardize it again. And I was convinced. I was the guy that needed a second chance. I got kicked out of high school my senior year. John Devlin at Virginia Tech was the only guy that kept recruiting me. So there's a soft spot in my heart for second chances when I think you deserve one, not just wholeheartedly second chances, but when you deserve it. And I've had 2 or 3 guys back at Temple. I had some guys that I got in school that only had like 450 on the SAT. They graduated in 4 years, and it never a problem. Right, because I knew they had grit, they had toughness, they had what it took, and I'm very, very proud of those guys. And they're all great members of society now, and a lot of them are high school coaches. And so I think, but Ty was very, very special because he did come out and had great success early, and it didn't go to his head. He was able to handle it all great, and so proud of him. And just what a great, great career. And just wish we could have won a Super Bowl together.
Speaking of great careers, you were Peyton Manning's first NFL QB coach during a rookie season where he threw for over 3,700 yards, but also had 28 picks. How did you balance holding him accountable with also keeping him confident? And was there a moment during that season when you knew that Peyton had what it took to be one of the greats?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we knew that when we drafted him, but it's just a matter of putting the right pieces around him and learning NFL football. I can remember going back and watching a red zone tape, and, I said, look, that's wide open. He said, it's only that big. I said, that's wide open in the NFL. You got to put that ball in there. And to learn from it. Every single mistake he made, he always learned from. He didn't repeat them, especially the second time through the division that year. I don't know if he had 4 or 5 interceptions, but every day at practice, you saw us getting better, and we were not a very good football. We were 3-13, just like most teams get the number 1 pick. We weren't very good, but put Edgerrin James around him, Marvin Harrison, a few other guys, and good offensive line. And defense got better. Cornelius Bennett was a big part of that, coming in and bringing that Buffalo mentality with Bill Polian. And next year we're 13-3. So, yeah, you saw it every single day in practice.
And then in your book, The QB Whisperer, you talk a lot about making quarterbacks a part of your family. Do you have any moments or any instances away from football that had strengthened your connection and had an impact on game day with any quarterback in particular, whether it's Peyton Manning or someone else?
I tried to have a relationship with all of them, a very personal one. Ben and I were very close, and some people thought too close, and so we played a lot of golf together. We were together a lot off the field, and he bought a house down here in Georgia, right up the lake from me, and we spent a lot of time together. But I think you have to have that rapport with your quarterback, if you're the play caller or the head coach. There can't be a bullshit session. You can't tell me what you think I want to hear. You got to tell me what you saw. Why did the ball go there? All right, and have an open, honest relationship so that we can communicate and get better.
Coach, when I was being recruited to Georgia Tech, there was this one coach who was talking to me basically about his lineage of how he became who he is. This may not be for everybody, but I'm curious if it is for you. He said, I coached here for a while, and here's something that I liked from this coach and I took, and here's something that I learned from this job. Your tutelage and the people that you've coached under is incredible. And the coaches or the players that you were able to coach is also incredible. So are there any isms or lessons that you remember that you've taken away from, Paul Bear Bryant, or some lessons or different ways of teaching that you took away from being with Big Ben, being with Jameis Winston? What are some of those that come to mind?
Well, Coach Bryant is Coach Martin, hug him later. If it ain't right, fix it. And don't take it personal. I'm going to cuss you out. I'm not talking about you. Your football sucks. You're a good guy, but your football sucks right now. All right. Let's just get that straight. You're a good dude. And if I get on your ass too bad, I'll find you in the locker room after practice and make sure you're okay. And make sure it's not personal. Because I do when I coach very ugly. But I think, the days back at Temple were really, really special for me. We were underdogs every single week, and we had a bunch of fighters. And that group of guys, 40 or 50, are all friends with my wife on Facebook. And they all go to all the Temple games, and they all still hang together. And I think that's the one thing missing today in college sports with the NIL. You don't have those friends you're going to have for 50 years that you went through tough times with. And guys are bailing here and there, quitting, leaving, playing for 3 or 4 different teams. That's not sports to me. Sports is sticking it out, fighting with your teammates, going through the hard times and enjoying the good times. And I think the guys are really missing that today.
I know Nick Rapone, for our listeners, Nick Rapone is a former Virginia Tech defensive back and your longtime safeties coach from Temple all the way to winning that Super Bowl in Tampa. Knowing that you guys were teammates back in Blacksburg in the 70s, and you've been coaching together for a long time since then, what makes your bond with Nick so special, and how does your shared inception of your relationship at Virginia Tech influence what you've built in the NFL, specifically when it comes to the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, Nick was a young guy out of Pittsburgh. Him, Ricky Rosano, John Latino all came down, and I was one of the few guys from Pennsylvania still left on the team. Charlie Coffey he wasn't recruiting too many guys from the North after Coach Claiborne, and then Coach Sharp went back to recruiting guys from the North. So I kind of took him under my wing way back when, and taught them how to play Blu-ray and took all their damn money one night. But and we've always been very, very close. And Nick was my defensive coordinator at Temple, along with Todd Bowles, Todd McNair, Kevin Ross, Clyde Christian. All those guys were on my staff. Were captains for me at Temple. Were on my staff in Arizona and Tampa Bay. I think it was 7 of us Temple guys. And one weekend, 20 guys from Temple off that team came down to hang out. So those are great memories.
So, Coach, we're going to move into our rapid fire segment before closing it out with questions we had submitted. The first one's always the hardest one, and we didn't get to ask this one last time. Also, the last time you were on here, we made way too many references to New Jersey, and you're totally a PA guy. So that's on us. We were excited. We got Coach Arians this week with a couple quick Wikipedias, and not a lot of time to dive into the full discography. But so the question is, if you could have dinner with 4 people, dead or alive, who are you inviting and where are you going to eat?
We're definitely going to Steak 44 in Scottsdale.
Okay.
Let's see. That's a good one. Jimmy Sharp, Charles Barkley, who is fun. It's a great, always great dinner with Chuck. Then, and it's really tough from there. I have to say my dad. He's been gone a long time.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask who's picking up the bill, but Chuck's got to pick up the bill. With all that TNT money coming in, we got to get Chuck on that bill. Yeah. So, Coach, your favorite cold drink? Saw you were enjoying a Bud Light after the Super Bowl. What's your favorite cold drink?
It was a warm one. No, I'm a Crown on the Rocks guy.
Crown on the Rocks. That's right.
And vodka when it's clear, when the daylight's, when sun's shining, and brown liquor, Crown after, or Wild Turkey. We had to have Wild Turkey in there from Tech.
That's right. Funniest player you've ever coached?
Oh. Well, I've had some good ones. I'd have to think about that one. The funniest. The craziest is Peyton Manning. I mean, the practical jokes those quarterbacks played on each other were crazy. I thought they were going to get fights after a while. I mean, the stuff they would do to each other every day, and then Peyton is hilarious.
I mean, do we have a shareable? And if you don't have a shareable one, that's fine.
I think it really wasn't Peyton. I later found out it was Kelly Holcomb, but Steve Walsh was the guy that brushed his teeth like 10 times a day, and so they took his toothbrush, threw it in the toilet, took a picture of it, and put a new one in his locker, and then he's over there brushing his teeth, and they threw the picture out there. He puked all over the place.
A very, very different question here. What is your proudest accomplishment thus far outside of football? I should have moved that one away from that question. But what is your proudest accomplishment thus far outside of football?
I think raising my two children to be the people they are. Very, very proud of my son and my daughter, and who they are and their families, and we're very, very, very close.
Love that.
When we asked Coach Beamer this question, he said his favorite show was Cheers. Coach, what is your favorite TV show ever?
Probably Sopranos.
Now you want to talk about Jersey? Now you want to talk about Jersey?
Yeah, that brought up a lot of home stuff. A lot of aunts and uncles on that show.
Reppin' Patterson. Any specific pregame routine or superstitions that you had?
No, I used to always watch Coach Bryant stand underneath the goalpost and wonder what the heck he was thinking down there. And then as a head coach, I said, I'm going to try that. And you sit down there and just get a whole feel for the stadium, for the game, clear your mind, go through some situations that might occur, just standing by yourself. And that's always that's my pregame thing. But, I was never a big rah-rah guy.
I know this wasn't why you were doing it, but you also get some great pictures. If you stand under the goalpost and look out there, you get a nice picture. So that definitely comes with the territory too. I got to ask you, speaking of pictures, you got to talk to me about this Darth Vader shoulder strap situation. Like when I was rooting for you guys in the Super Bowl, and I remember we were out skiing and I had a fanny pack, and that day I wore it like a chest situation. So please walk me through what was in there or what spawned that.
Well, everybody wears their coach communicator around their waist.
Right.
And when I wore mine real tight, it was pinching a nerve in my leg. So I had them build me one over the shoulder, and it was so much easier to use. I don't know why everybody does it, because it's right here. Especially when I was fat, I couldn't find it. I couldn't look down to see if it was on or not. And so I started wearing it up here. I was like, man, this is the easiest thing ever.
Did you have a pocket for the challenge flag? Did you have it in there? Or did you?
No, it was always in my back pocket. Yeah.
Were you a throw guy, a toss guy, or a drop guy with the challenge flag?
It all depends how pissed off I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd throw it at him, and I did throw it one time and told him it slipped out of my pocket. I didn't really throw it.
Last one that I have for rapid fire, Coach. Your favorite music to listen to pregame, and your favorite music to listen to relax to.
I'm very eclectic. I love Motown. I grew up on Motown. Very, very country. Got some great country artists that are good friends, and probably country more than anything now. Country is more rock and roll than it used to be anyway.
Mm-hmm.
best spot to grab a bite to eat in Blacksburg in the 1970s?
Oh, probably the Greek Cellar, or no, had to be Carlisle's. Carlisle's was Mike's for a while, but Carlisle Burford, I bartended there for 4 years, and my man could cook. God, he and Helen were some of the greatest people I've ever met.
You know, when I was reading up and doing some research earlier today, I think was no risk it, no biscuit, or I know there were some pieces of advice that some of the old timers that were working at that bar had given you. Any validity to that, or any more stories from those guys?
No, mostly just listen. You learn how to listen, and I think most people like to talk too much, and a lot of coaches like to talk too much. All right, they don't listen, and you can't hear what your players are saying if you're not listening. Mm-hmm. And if you're preaching all the time, half of them are sleeping. So you got to have a good dialogue, good communication, but I learned to be a really good listener.
I'm still working on that in my tool bag. So we do have letters from the lunch pail. Pat, kick it off.
All right, this one is coming from Robert Irby. He says, if Coach could take his 20-year-old self and play college football in 2025, which coach would he most like to play quarterback for?
Oh, Jimmy Sharp again. Jimmy and run the Wishbone, man. I mean, I love running the Wishbone. I mean, I always tell everybody when we were a passing team, I was a running quarterback. When we were a running team, I was a passing quarterback. But Jimmy was an unbelievable motivator. I was convinced the Wishbone couldn't be stopped, and I still am. If you run it properly, I think Barry Switzer said it the other day because we just did a little film on the Wishbone, and SEC Network put out, and it's really good. But even Barry said if you ran the Wishbone today with the talent we used to have, nobody could stop you.
My dad says this all the time to people my age, and he's like, if Alabama would come out and run the Wishbone, it'd be tough to recruit towards, but they would win every single game by 60 points. There'd be no way that anybody could stop them.
Yeah, when you look at what the read option and some of these things are, it's really the triple option. Now you're throwing the ball down the field on a slant or a quick hitch or something. It's just like the same thing as pitching it out to the halfback. But when you take both, I think the shotgun and the Wishbone and the triple option and put it all together, there's some dynamic stuff that could be done with the athletic quarterbacks that are out there today.
This next one, I actually wrote this in last minute. Jameis Winston is one of the best personalities in football. Any funny Jameis Winston stories?
Oh, God, there's too many to name. He's the only guy I've ever heard was called corny by his teammates. They loved him, but he's corny. And Jameis eating W's, and it's just one after the other. And he was an extremely talented young man coming out of high school, and followed him at Florida State, and very proud of him, and still am. I hope he gets with the team. He gets to start again sometime, and I think he'll do a really good job.
So from Coach Holmes, I'm sure you get this all the time. Could you ever see yourself getting into the college game with your experience? I'm sure it would be in high demand given the payrolls and everything else. But yeah, I was kind of expecting the head shake. Do you have a fix for it?
I don't have any patience for rookies, let alone freshmen. Especially freshmen that you're going to lie to that they're going to play and they're not going to play.
Do you have any fix for it? Because you're so right. Like even at the pro level, and it has nothing to do with their character or anything like that. Because I'm part of this generation as well. It's just the instant gratification generation are now who is in the pros, and the instant gratification is almost being just off rip given to all of these athletes. So I'm curious, like, have you put in any thought on if somebody came to you and they said, Coach Arians, how do we fix college football? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, two. Salary cap, and contract.
Mm-hmm.
You want to play football? You want to play pros? Be the pros. Mm-hmm. Put you on a salary cap, and when we sign you, you're not going anywhere.
Yep.
I might trade you, but you ain't quitting. Mm-hmm. And damn sure not taking our money and leaving.
This one's from VT Sandsman. From a coach's point of view, is it difficult to prepare for a team with two new coordinators? With all of the changes from VT on both scheme and personnel, can this create an advantage? So just how would you prepare for a team that had 2 new coordinators, or you didn't necessarily know how they were going to come out early in a season?
Yeah, you try to go back and look at where they came from, their history a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. And, especially in the first 2 games, it's always tough. And you just try to get your guys ready, expect the unexpected, and do control what you can do. And don't worry about them so much. Rely on your football team to do it right, and don't beat themselves.
And last one here comes from the Engine Room Contemplator. It's an interesting username. How is Blacksburg and Tech different compared to the 1970s?
I think downtown and campus are the same. Some of the restaurants have changed names, but boy, around outside has really changed. Just Christiansburg and Blacksburg are one town, almost all the way to Bluefield. So, the growth is amazing. It's fantastic. What they've done on campus, going from 15,000 when I was there to 35,000 now, and the buildings that are there, and it's fantastic. It's still one of the most beautiful campuses I've ever been on.
Coach Arians, you are a tremendous, tremendous advocate and representation of Virginia Tech. I appreciate you coming on and chatting with us here. Our last deal here is we do have Sharky shout-outs, so an opportunity for you to shout out people or anything that you have going on. I do want to shout out the Arians Family Foundation. I highly encourage everybody to check it out. It works to support and develop programs which strive to prevent the abuse and neglect of children. So really appreciate all of the amazing work that you do to help the communities that you have lived in and live in now. So I applaud you for that, and then also hand it over to you for final thoughts or shout-outs.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, we take great pride in the work that my wife has done over the years as a child's advocate, and I watched her save those kids one at a time for years. And once we got a platform to be able to raise awareness and raise some money, we try to get it going, and it's been very successful. And we hope to bring a golf tournament back here to the lake next year and do it big and better. And it's just I think one thing that we can never forget is we have to give back. We have to give back, and we have to help the kids, man. These kids are in situations through no fault of their own, from neglect and abuse, and they just need a good positive influence and a helping hand.
Well, Coach, please do let us know when that golf tournament gets put together, and we hope to see you in Blacksburg soon. And again, appreciate you taking the time today.
Always, guys. You know that. Go Hokies, baby.